Well guys, I'm back with something new. I gotta tell you, 2 years plus of doing a carnivore style diet, and I can't believe I'm just now finding out how delicious suet is. I went by a local shop here in Florida, over in Ocala, where they sell grass-fed beef and fat and all type of things. They have pork and everything there. I tend to stick toward beef and lamb because I've been doing lion diet for this whole time. And I have added a few things, but I find the more I get back to lion diet, the better I feel. And I'm actually going to be doing an experiment throughout March to cut out butter and see if that's what's been causing not only some of my histamine issues, but also my voice sounds a little raspy. And I've noticed that I've had some congestion, and I thought it was just my allergies acting up. Same with the histamine response. But I started doing butter over a year ago. It has been hard to let it go. And as a matter of fact, about 3 months ago, I started hitting butter harder than ever. Heck, sometimes I'll just sit there and eat up a piece of a stick of butter. But I bought this suet yesterday, and I figured fat was fat. I heard about kidney fat being creamier and things like that, but this was amazing. Let me see, where did I have a bag that's already open. Yesterday I fried a little bit up in the air fryer like I do with the extra muscular fat that I do sometimes. And there were some little pieces left on my cutting board, and I figured, well, let me just see what it tastes like. And it's like candy. It's like candy without sugar, but to me it tastes delicious and sweet. I mean, I could replace butter with this. And this is right out of the freezer. So good. But anyway, I thought it would be a little easier if I render some down in the slow cooker, and then I'll have some that's available to add to my food, because one of the hardest things I've had lately is finding local sources of cut fat, because Publix won't sell me anymore, and I can't seem to get any of the local shops to give me any of their leftover fat. I've even offered to buy their fat. Nobody wants to do it. Such a strange world we live in these days, where people don't want to participate in the exchange of goods that they have for a value. I don't understand what's going on. This is my first time really experimenting it, other than yesterday when I did cook some in the air fryer, and I'm going to do some of that with you today. And I'm also going to share with you how I'm going to render some down in the crock pot too, so that way we can go on this journey together. I thought at $5.99 a pound I was going to be disappointed, but I was not disappointed. I noticed that it didn't get quite as golden and crispy as extra muscular fat does in the same amount of time, but I did kind of cut some big pieces. This is about as big as a piece as I would want to cook this way. And I'm going to save whatever renders out of this as well. As a lot of you know, I replaced the air fryer tray that I had with this stainless steel grill that fits in the air fryer. And I like it a lot better that I'm not cooking on Teflon or whatever that black material is on there. I assume it's Teflon. I would think I would see more meat in here, but this is remarkably pure suet. I've seen other videos where people have had suet and it had a lot of meat in it. This is just white as it can be. Man, it's so creamy. My fingers feel like I've got some kind of skin cream on them. Alright, let's do one more block. I don't know how much I want to put in there right away. I've never done this before, so I'm going to start with a couple of, I guess these are about 1 pound blocks, because this was a 10-pound pack. Alright, there was a couple of pieces that had a little bit of red on them, but this is not very much meat. I'm telling you, this is some pretty pure stuff. It is not at all like regular fat. Alright, I'm going to close this, set it on air fry, 475 degrees. We'll let that go for 17 minutes and see how it does. I'm going to set the slow cooker on high. And we'll go, let's see, it's 3 o'clock. I'm going to try to make it till 9:30, so we'll hopefully have about 6 hours of cooking time in there. And we'll see how it comes out. Now this 2.5 pound frozen sirloin I'm going to put in afterward. Normally I would cook the steak first and do the suet later, or do the suet with the steak, but I wanted to be able to do these two things separately. Yesterday I did my first OMAD that I've done in a long time. That's a 1 meal a day OMAD, and I had about a 2.5 pound sirloin yesterday, and it was just perfect. But it's just not enough fat, and it's a little too much protein sometimes. So I'm going to see if I can make this go a little longer than 1 meal and have some suet with the steak and try to split this up into a couple of days worth. This is what I normally do when I cook a steak in the air fryer. I'm cooking it from frozen lately, so I use my little torch here. And I'll have links for a lot of this stuff down in the description, so if you're interested in the torch or Redmond salt or the air fryer, I get people asking about these things all the time. Even the Kulina knife I was using earlier, I'll put links in the description for you so you can check them out if you'd like to get one. I also have an affiliation with Redmond salt. For those of you who are new to the channel, you may not know that, but if you're interested in getting some of the best tasting salt on earth, it's super clean because it doesn't come from a normal seabed that's currently being used by maritime shipping with oil and gas and all that pollution getting in there. It comes from an ancient seabed out in Utah. It's got all the trace elements that you need. It's not as high in some of the radioactive trace elements that like pink salt is, that comes from Pakistan. And it's just my favorite in the world. I love my Redmond salt. I use kosher salt when I'm cooking meat. I used to do a lot of coarse salt and then grind it up, but I found that this is a lot better because you can see it as it covers the meat, and that you don't wind up putting too much or too little because you can see what you're doing a whole lot better. Who would have thought I would love salt? I used to hate the taste of salt, but ever since I started eating a carnivore way of eating, and especially once I found Redmond, I love my salt, baby. I'll tell you what. And I've had people tell me that you can't get a good steak without seasoning it. I have not used any seasoning on any steaks that I've made in the past 2 years, and I have enjoyed the best steaks of my life just using salt. I never would have thought that something so simple could be so good, and it is. So we got about 7 minutes left. I want to let it stay shut the whole time because I don't want to be opening it and let all the heat out, but we'll see how it looks after that 17-minute first try. Yeah, they're much smaller than they were, and they actually do look nice and golden brown, but not as much as when I use extra muscular fat. You can see it's a little bit more squishy than I usually get them out of there. So I'm going to let them sit for a couple more minutes. Let them cook a little longer. We'll try these little fat crispies from suet instead of extra muscular fat. Now when I say extra muscular fat, I'm talking about the stuff that's on the outside of the muscle. Like on this sirloin here, this is your extra muscular fat. The intramuscular fat's all the little marbling that you see inside of the meat itself. And then suet actually comes from around the kidney. The kidneys inside of the cow. It's just an area where kidneys build up fat. Alright, there we go. Now these things have been in here a full 20 minutes with a short pause. We'll pull out what I got here. So there we go, some suet fat crispies. I'll pour this inside the slow cooker. There we go. And I'm going to stick my steak in the air fryer now if it'll fit. Just barely. Set this back to air fry. 475. Should be good in 23 minutes. Let's check out these fat crispies now that they've been sitting for a minute or two. It's like biting into a little scallop. A little fried scallop. Needs a little salt. Now for these little crispy bits, I'm not going to use kosher salt. I'm going to use some fine salt. Coarse salt that I've crushed down to fine. These are so yummy. Yeah, I can see you could go overboard on this for sure. I'm going to have to really monitor my intake. But since this is all I'm going to be adding to the steak I'm about to eat, this should be enough for today. And these are so good. If you'd have told me I'd be standing here eating straight fat off a plate when I was in my 20s, back when they were telling us on TV that fat is what's going to kill you, and fat's clogging your arteries, and fat this and fat that, and it's all bad to eat, I'd have thought you were crazy. But now here I am in the best shape of my life, eating the most delicious food I've ever eaten. So stick around, and in just a minute I'll show you the end of this process when we render this down and see how it all looks. Alright, let me see if I can give you a good look at this. Oh boy, does it look good. Here's how we look coming out of the air fryer. Now it's low lighting, but you can see the pinkness in there, and the outside is nice and crispy. Perfect from frozen. I've seen a lot of you guys that post on our Facebook group page too that are doing a lot of the same thing I'm doing, and your steaks look fantastic too. If you're not a member of the Facebook group, you ought to check out Ferrigno Freedom Facebook group. We share all kind of information and get together and talk about carnivore lifestyle and all kind of things. It's really great. Now let's see, the proof is in the pudding. Nope. I never get tired of eating steak. 26 months of eating steak, and I've loved every single minute of it. Alright, it's been a little bit more than 5 hours. Let's take a look. Oh man. Definitely doesn't look like it has much more to go, if it has any at all to go. Yeah, I would have thought being on high it would have been boiling by now. Now it's not going from cold to hot, but it is going from hot to something that's not really warm. You want to be careful not to splash any of this on you, that's for sure. Well, it made more than I thought it would. I didn't think it was going to fill that whole thing up. Like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of meat in this fat. It was just fat. About as pure as it can be. I don't know what you call this flake, but it's really light. It's really good. Alright, well, I'm going to go ahead and cover these up. And I'm going to leave them on the counter until I wake up tomorrow. Because I got to get some sleep, y'all. I don't feel like any of this should go to waste. This isn't like fried material from mixing grease and batter. This is just fat. Alright, well here it is. It's 4:25, so I gotta get going. This stuff I added a little bit of salt to last night. And at room temperature, this is doing real good. Both of these look like they're gonna be great. But I gotta run off to work, so I'm gonna put these inside the building so they don't get too warm. And we'll talk about it some when I get back. Guys, I'm back. I am gonna try to see if I can take these petite sirloin steaks that my wife got from Aldi. I would never buy petite steaks. It's hard to cook them the right way, and grass-fed steak from Aldi typically doesn't have very much fat. I mean, they're a good way to get a decent steak, but geez, I'd almost rather have grain-fed just because there's so much more fat on the meat. But that's where we're gonna try to take some of this fat flake that I have left over from yesterday, and we're going to definitely try some of the rendered suet that I have here to see if we can't fatten this up a little bit and make it a better meal. I've preheated this air fryer to 475 degrees. Normally I would cook my steaks from frozen. As you know, I've grown to love having a steak frozen, cooked in the air fryer, because it gets so crispy on the outside. But I have learned that you can't do that with thin steaks, because all you wind up doing is way overcooking the inside and not getting enough crispy cooking on the outside. So I'm going to leave these in here for about 13 minutes, and about 5 minutes before they're done cooking, I'm going to add some of this flake to it And then I'm going to put a little bit of the rendered suet on there as well. While we're waiting though, I would like to just say, I watched some videos since I spoke to you about other people who have done this. And the one thing about it that I've noticed is, you know, this is about $12 worth of rendered fat. So I got to make this last. But that's almost like a shaving of the fat right there. Let's see how it tastes. It is so smooth and creamy. It's almost like eating a frosting. Now I've seen people whip this, like with a hand mixer. I don't have a hand mixer, otherwise I'd give it a try. Yeah, I think I'm going to stick this in the freezer just like this. That way we can make sure that it doesn't go bad, because I have no idea how long this can sit at room temperature. I do know one of the videos I watched, the young lady was talking about she'd usually let it sit for about 7 days and it would be gone by then. And if you don't regulate how you eat it, you'll wind up eating it all a lot faster than you want to. Here we go. But I still got a good bit of suet left that we can do some experimentation with later on. I'm just excited to have found out about suet. Let's go ahead and flip these steaks over. They got about 6 minutes left. And I have no idea if this is a good idea or if this is a way to even make use of this. All I know is if I hadn't rendered it down, I would have eaten all of it. So I'm going to find a way to try to eat all of it if I can. So I took about a little sliver out of the side there, just enough to add some good fat to these steaks, along with the little flake that I put on there. Alright, I've just checked the temperature on these steaks and they're right at 135 degrees. So it's a good time to take them out and let them rest for a little bit. We'll just add this on like a little butter, but without the problems of eating dairy. Let's give this a try now. A lot of that suet and the juice from the steaks is right here. This really makes what I would normally consider not a great piece of meat, a delicious piece of meat. It's so juicy. And it's not much different than adding butter as far as the flavor goes. But hopefully we'll have a big difference by avoiding the problems that come with eating dairy. For most people. Possibly including me. As I hope to find out this month. Today is March 1st. I've gone on all day without a lick of butter. Oh, it's so delicious. Well guys, I'm going to be working with this suet over the next few weeks, so we're really getting a good look at how it makes a difference, and hopefully I'll see a reduction in the histamine and a reduction in the arthritis pain. But that's it for right now. I'll see you guys next time. KetoCon 2023. It's going to be in Austin, Texas, and yours truly is going to be there on the Saturday event. If I get enough people that get tickets using my code, that they will set something up for a little meet and greet type of situation for me. Check in the description for the link and the code. Not only will it help the opportunity for me to be able to talk to more of you, but you'll also save $50 on your own tickets. And look for Saturday to be the day to have a chance to get together with me.
If we pay extra, could we maybe get some grease or fat?